Well, what made Jesus' relationships transformational is simply the time he spent with people. I watched Jesus go through a process of taking the disciples on that journey. It's not a step-by-step process. You can't sort of just break it down into nice, neat categories. But basically, you see Jesus initially just modeling for them what they should be like. In the first 5 chapters of the book of Mark, Jesus is with his disciples. The disciples are rarely mentioned. They know that they're together, but they're looking at Jesus. They're observing what he's about. They're asking the question, who is this man? And because Jesus is doing a lot of things like, casting out demons and healing a paralyzed man and stilling storms and things like that. And that had to be the question that they were asking. Who is this man that's got all this power? But then Jesus starts engaging his disciples in his ministry. And oftentimes it's in the context of teaching situations, like Jesus with the rich young ruler, for example. And the rich young ruler comes up to him and, bows before him and acknowledges him. And then Jesus says, one thing you lack. You need to sell everything and give it to the poor. And then he swivels and turns to his disciples and says, how hard it is for the rich to enter the kingdom of God. And the disciples are just like, really? We thought the rich were the kingdom of God. If you were rich, God had blessed you. And now you're telling us that the rich are having a hard time entering the kingdom of God. So Jesus begins to kind of counter the things that were in their minds. And I call that making mental train wrecks in their minds. And the values that they had, Jesus is confronting them and saying, those are not the values of the kingdom. So the disciples are more present, and now Jesus is teaching them along the way. Kind of the third stage, he sends them out on a mission. He's been with them sort of time, and now they have a chance to test his power and authority. So they go out under the authority of Jesus. They see that, in fact, when they heal people and have demonstrations of the power, declare the gospel, the good news, people respond. And Jesus' authority has gone with them. And so they're testing that authority, and it actually works. And then, of course, the final stage is something I've already alluded to, which is he's getting ready to turn his ministry over to them. So all those are sort of transformational stages through which Jesus takes his men.